So, hi, my name is Victor Kim, and the presentation I'm going to do is using Raspberry Pi and the breadboard. So, the goal was for me to understand how to use a Raspberry Pi along the breadboard. It was also to understand how to use the LED lights, the resistors, the buzzers, the button, the ultrasonic sensors, and the wires that are connected to the breadboard. So the design is where I plug each LED light with its own resistors and its own GPIO wire. The output for each LED was grouped into one ground. And for the buzzers, the buttons, and the ultrasonic sensor, they were also individually plugged into the Raspberry Pi with its own wires. Each of the buttons and the sensor required their own GPIO, their voltage, sensor, and ground. And, compared to the two, the buzzer only needed the GPIO and the ground. And one wire was used to connect the ground for the button and the ultrasonic sensor. So these are the images of my project. The left side is the breadboard. As you can see, the resistors and the LED lights connected into one side, as well as the buzzer, the button, and the sensor on the other side. The right side shows you the wires that are connected to the motherboard. So most of these wires right here are for the GPIO wires, and most of these are here are for the voltage as well as for the ground wires. And then when I first created the file, there were libraries that were required to be inserted in order to build this project, which was the import RPI GPIO in order to set the header, the import time, as well as GPIO set mode. The next thing I had to do was to set up the pins, which was to set the pins for the GPIO wires. And the lights were also built in order to control all the lights in one function using the buttons. The ultrasonic sensor had its own method known as set distance. This was created in order for the sensor to have its own space in order to write its outputs, while loops and equations, so that it's not mixing around with everything else. The start time and stop time were made in order to calculate the distance from the sensor, and that was calculated by converting the time between start time and stop time into actual distance using the equation. The if and else distance was also built in order to turn on the LED and the buzzer to let you know whether the distance was farther or closer depending on the LED and the buzzer. And then there was a while loop that was written in order to control the LED lights. And then the press button was made in order to turn on these lights into ascending and descending order. And two for loops were built in order to do these methods. So the left side is the distance method that I made in order to calculate the distance as well as to set it up. And the right side was the press button while loop, which will, once I press the button, will allow me to turn on the lights in ascending order and then turn it off in a descending order based on the for loops. And then when building this board, the difficulties I had was making sure each wires were properly connected. There was at one point where the sensors would stop running because one of the wires wasn't plugged in properly. And then as I was building the program, I made sure to test each part before moving on to the next step to make sure everything works, so that at the end nothing is broken or nothing is unable to be used. And yeah, that's my project. Oh yeah. Just oops. method, so it's where if I, oh shoot, okay, so it's where if I close the distance with my hands, it will turn on the buzzer and the LED, signifying that it works properly. Sorry. Can you just press? Oh, actually, I forgot. Where if I press the button, it will turn on and turn off in ascending order. And yeah, that's my whole project in general.
Can you go back to your code? I want to see
Sure.
something.
Yes.
I just want to see your code.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is my code. The first part was setting up the pins. Second part was setting up whether it is an input or output. These two were two functions where it will allow me to control the lights in turning on in ascending order and descending order. This part right here was a distance method, which will allow me to use the sensors. And this part was here so that I could press the button and then control the lights turning on and off.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's give a round of applause.